Well, this torque tube is not going to rebuild itself, so might as well get started on this. And there's a bit of a time frame here. I really want to get this tractor put back together before we get our first snow. I know that's still a couple months off yet, but you know how fast time goes. So my goal for this video is to get this whole thing rebuilt. I've got the new seals here, new gaskets. So let's just get started on this. The first thing I'm going to do is remove this hand clutch shaft from the housing and replace the seal on this end. I'm not sure if there's a seal on that end or not, but I think there's at least one of them, so we're going to do that first. So I think what we need to do is remove this bolt and lock nut from inside there, and then I think the shaft should come out. Let's give it a try. The lock nut is 1 inch and 1/16. And that's what it looks like. A little taper on the end of the bolt. I don't think there's anything else holding this to the shaft in here, so it should just come out. So on the outside of the housing here, on the outside of the shaft is a little plug or a plate. Let's take that plug off. I got it loose off camera, and then I'm just going to take a punch and try to drive the shaft out that way now. Well, this is one of those jobs that, you know, nothing is easy, but I finally got this loose on the shaft, so now I'll have an easier time getting the shaft out. All right, over on this side, you can see that there is a seal in place. This is the side, you know, this is the side with the arm for the linkage. Now the other side, you can see that there is not a seal present. We just had that round plug that was in there. And I would say that's a bushing, but I don't think it is. I think it's just cast that way. See, it doesn't look like a bushing from the inside. But it seems like, you know, those surfaces are all in good shape. So all I need to do is get this seal out, clean everything up, and put the new seal in. Well, I got one of these fancy seal removers. So let's see if we can get it with this. I think it moved. All right, now we just got the outer shell part. I wouldn't say that was exactly easy, but that was a heck of a lot easier than using a screwdriver or a punch or something like that. All right, I've got both of the holes on both sides cleaned out, and here's our new seal. Just going to put some grease on the inside to fill the void there between the rubber and the metal. The other thing the grease will do is keep the seal itself lubricated while the tractor sits, you know, when I'm putting it back together. Because we don't want these seals to dry out. We could possibly damage them. And we'll just set it in there to start. All right, I want to make sure it gets seated all the way around. That looks good. All right, I've got the shaft cleaned up as well. I'm going to put some assembly lube inside both of the cavities on both sides and also on the shaft. Just put it back in. Oh yeah, nice when everything is clean, huh? Goes back together much easier. And then of course you have to line up that hole down there where the tapered bolt and lock nut go in. I've already got that done, so I'm just going to thread this in by hand to start with. All right, get that snug and then I'll run that lock nut down. All right, that feels really good. The only thing left to do is put this cover plug on the outside over here. This is nothing more than just a steel blank. Pretty thick though. And hopefully it'll go right back in. Well, overall, I think that went pretty well. It gets us laid back down and then we can move on. Now I'm going to install the two seals right there and then the bearing behind them. After that, we need to put the whole clutch shaft in the housing and then put the hand clutch mechanism on the end of the shaft over here. Okay, so down in there I need to put the bearing back in. We're going to use the old one. It's in good condition, there's nothing wrong with it. That needs to go in first, and then these two seals need to go in second. I was a little disappointed these are just the single-sided seals. You know, a lot of them are double-sided, but they'll work just fine. And as far as how they go in, you know, open sides are up right here. They face each other like that, and it kind of creates like a double seal. So I'm going to put the bearing in from this side as well because the gear for the PTO is kind of in the way on the other side. So the bearing goes in first, then the two seals, and then we can put the shaft back in. There's not enough room down in there for me to do that and get it on camera, so I'm just going to do that off camera and I'll bring you right back. All right, I've got the bearing installed and both of the seals installed face to face. And I also put a liberal amount of grease in between those two seals, just for good measure. And I've got some grease on the rubber part of the lips themselves. So everything looks pretty good. I think we can go ahead and put the clutch shaft in now. All right, here's the clutch shaft. These are the cam lobes that operate the valves for the hydraulic pump. I've cleaned the mating surfaces where the seals ride over here, and also this one over here where the seal inside the tractor is. So we're going to put this into the torque tube now and then put the hand clutch assembly on. Now we've reached the bearing on the back side there that we just installed a couple minutes ago. So we're going to have to press this through that bearing and then press this bearing into this opening. Well, I was wondering why it felt a little bit stiff. I mean, that thing should be spinning freely, and knocked this bearing out, you know, maybe 3/16 of an inch on this side. So, and it's making contact with that gear right there, so it's rubbing. So I just need to knock that bearing back in its place, and then it should spin freely again. Okay, next this piece goes on. This is the gear that meshes with that lower gear that ultimately drives the PTO, and you just have to make sure that gets meshed and on there all the way. There we go. Now snap ring goes right in that little groove right there. Well, I really need 3 hands for this job. You know, the shaft wants to push out the other side when I'm trying to get the ring on, and I need kind of both of my hands to get the ring on. So let me figure out some way to secure the shaft, and then we'll go from there. Well, sometimes the simple ideas are the best ones. I've got it sort of jammed into the spare tire there on my 1919 Model T, and I think that'll keep everything in place while I'm trying to get the snap ring on. Well, I had to wrestle with that for about 15-20 minutes. It's in the groove all the way around. Looks good. And the shaft is nice and secure now. All right, now it's time for the hand clutch assembly. If you remember, it's got these 4 studs on it that go into these 4 holes on the shaft adapter thing there. And then it's got nuts on the back and these lock washer affairs. I was going to replace them, but they're actually in good enough shape to reuse again. So we're gonna do that. So we got to finagle this inside there and get this installed, and then put the yoke on the other side when we're done with that. Put that on first, and try to get these nuts just started. All right, I've got them secure all the way around, and I've got the tabs bent up. So here's the top half of the yoke, and rides right there, so it can, you know, ride freely right there. I'm not going to be able to get a very good shot of this on camera for you, so I'm going to do my best, but it's kind of difficult here with the close quarters and the light and the camera and my hands. So this is the bottom part. Maybe I need to get both pieces in before we put it on the lower yoke, like that, maybe. Almost. Well, after about an hour of messing around with this thing, I've got it installed, and the bolts are torqued down. You can see that everything is nice and loose in here, and the shaft spins freely. But yeah, that was pretty tricky to get that in there. It's like I've said it a couple times already, just about every single thing on this project has been, you know, challenging. But we are making progress, and everything is looking pretty good here. I still have to clean up both surfaces on the front and the back, but as far as the shaft goes and the new seals and everything looks pretty good. I'm a little bit worried about getting those clutch discs all aligned. There's 3 of them in there with splines, and I'm a little bit worried about getting them all aligned when we go to put the rear section of the tractor back together. This is where the transmission input shaft goes, and it's splined, of course, and it fits in there. So, but I guess we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So the only seal that we have yet to install is this little guy, and this goes up inside the tractor, and it fits on the shaft somewhere in there, like that. The space that this has to fit into inside the tractor is a little bit deep, and this thing is kind of hard. I'm not sure how difficult this is going to be to get in the tractor. Let's go give it a try. All right, here we are back at the tractor, and we're looking forward towards the front, and you can see that first lip right in there. That's where the seal goes. So it's not all that deep. I can reach in there fairly easily and touch it with my fingers. But the problem is that I'm just realizing this seal is too big for the hole. Try to get you a shot of it here. The hole that the seal is supposed to fit into is just a little bit smaller than the inner diameter of the seal. And that makes sense because that's the part that makes contact with the clutch shaft and prevents the hydraulic oil from getting up where the engine clutch is. Well, I thought the seal was more rubber, but it's not. It's got, I think it even has some kind of a metal ring inside here, so it's not pliable at all. I thought I was going to be able to kind of squish it and shove it up in there, but I can't, and I do not see a good way of getting this done. So long story short, because I can't get the seal in from this side like I thought I was going to be able to, I don't know how else to do this, but either separate the bell housing from the engine or remove the engine from the tractor. And I have to admit, this is a little bit discouraging because I was making some good progress and I got that torque tube all rebuilt and ready to go. But now we've hit a roadblock. I would like to get this job finished for a number of reasons. Get this stuff out of my shop and get the tractor put back together before winter comes. I need to study up on this a little bit more. But the first thing that's come to my mind is I wonder if I should just put the tractor back together the way it is with no seal up here at all, just so it's a complete tractor again, and then go ahead and take the engine out from the front. I don't know. What do you guys think? You have any ideas besides that? Leave a comment. In the meantime, I will sign off and hope to catch you guys on the next video. And don't worry, I'm not giving up on this. We'll figure out a solution, whatever that solution is, and we'll try to keep going forward. So we'll see you on the next one. Take care, everybody.